You guys, as you probably know, there's a new Steven Spielberg movie out. I know I'm a little late to the game. It's been out for a little while now. You've probably already seen it or decided you don't care and don't want to see it, but it's out. Ready Player One is out. A new Spielberg movie is always a good thing. You know, it's always something to look forward to. He's a very reliable filmmaker. He's been making movies for decades. They're all good. They're not all good. All but like two or three of them are good. And how does this one stack up? You know, he's a very prolific filmmaker. And when you have made as many movies as him, when people see your movies, one of the first things they're going to do is compare it to the rest of your career. At least that's what I do every time I see a Spielberg movie. You know, I saw The Post, his movie before Ready Player One. And my first thoughts was like, how does this stack up to his other films? How does this stack up to Close Encounters and to Jaws and to Raiders of the Lost Ark, you know, and to, you name it, a number of movies he's done. And when I saw Ready Player One, that was also kind of my first thing, was where do I kind of put this on how I would rank his movies? And let's see, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't say where I would put it, if I'd put it high, medium, or low. Maybe I should kind of just get into talking about the movie. Ready Player One is nostalgia the movie. There's no arguing against that. Whether you like the movie, whether you don't like the movie, that's what the movie is. It is just all about your nostalgia. Do you recognize the references that the movie is putting on the screen? Because every frame of this movie is filled. You know, that's kind of a credit to it, is there's always something going on, whether it's a song playing or a character in the background or a line of dialogue that somebody says, or even something specific to the story. It is inspired and a love letter to pop culture. Now, Spielberg is probably the perfect filmmaker to make this movie, because not just because like he's made so many of the movies that are a part of our pop culture, you know, Indiana Jones and Jurassic Park, E.T., you know, you name it. He's made so many of those movies, but also just because he has the talent for it. I mean, I'm sure you know the story or what Ready Player One is all about. It takes place in this virtual world called the Oasis, and it's just a big video game, and there's a competition, and basically whoever beats the game, you could say, is the winner. And there's some stakes, there's some real world stakes going on. You know, if the bad guy wins, it's not good. If the good guy wins, then yay, everyone's happy and everyone has their freedom to do what they want in the Oasis or whatever. Basic stuff, real basic stuff. And I was surprised by none of the story. But you don't go to see a movie like this for the depth of the story or even the depth of the characters. You go to see a movie like this for the special effects and for the action set pieces. And since this is nostalgia of the movie, you go to see a movie like this basically to see how many of the references you get. If you haven't seen this movie, I'd recommend bringing a notepad, and every time you see something you recognize, make a tally, right? And have your friends do the same thing. Whoever has the most tallies at the end wins. Now, about the action set pieces, there are quite a bit of them, and they're all really well done. I don't know what to comment on these set pieces, because, you know, there's a couple really great like driving scenes. There's a big, you know, the big climax is this huge field, everyone's doing this hand-to-hand combat stuff. There's a great sequence where the two main characters are like floating, and, you know, they're supposed to be falling in love, and it's all romantic and stuff. There's a lot of good stuff like that. But for Spielberg, it's kind of like, yeah, that's what I expect. That's what you get when you go to a Spielberg movie. That's kind of no surprise. That's sort of just the standard. But where this movie really shines is, I don't know, I guess that's about it. That's where it shines, is in the action scenes. And I guess that's why I was a little disappointed, because there just wasn't much more to this movie than that. I was expecting a lot more than just simply like cool special effects, you know? Because you get great action scenes in every Spielberg movie. Not every Spielberg movie, but in his action movies, you have great action scenes. And there's so much more to it than that. Like Minority Report, a great film, has some of his best sequences he's ever shot. But then, of course, you have a good story, and you have the science fiction to it, and the philosophy, blah, blah, blah. There's just more layers to it than simply, like, Spielberg being an expert filmmaker. And since this is kind of the standard for Spielberg, and I feel like it doesn't ever rise above that, I don't love this movie. I wasn't that into it. If someone else had made the movie, I probably would be more impressed. Now, as a person who loves to play video games, I play a lot more video games than I should. I wouldn't consider myself a hardcore gamer, but I play video games every day, several hours a day minimum. And I had a big issue with the Oasis in this movie. It was like, it just wouldn't work that way. It couldn't work that way. And I get it, it's just a movie, and I don't really dock the movie a whole lot of points for what I'm about to explain a little bit. Because it is just a movie, you just have to suspend your disbelief. I understand why they would kind of take this shortcut. Now let me explain. Basically, with a video game, every video game is designed in a very specific way. Like, the mechanics, the physics, everything is meant for that game. Now, and what I mean is, like, there's a reason why the skills it takes to play a game like Halo doesn't transfer to a game like Need for Speed. You know what I mean? Like, different control schemes, different mechanics, everything tailored and designed specifically for those individual games. You can't play Halo and then pick up Need for Speed and be doing the same sort of thing and be very good at it. And in this movie, the Oasis, basically, you load into it and you are driving and you're going off these crazy jumps and you're spinning your car around and you're drifting and everything. And I guess that's cool and all. But then in later scenes, you're doing hand-to-hand combat. Now, video games just don't work that way. You couldn't really do that. That's part of the reason why sandbox games, they call, where you can kind of do anything you want, aren't that plentiful. Because you just have to tailor your game to be one sort of thing. I mean, you have your Grand Theft Autos where you can drive and you're shooting guns and stuff like that, but I wouldn't say that it's a great shooter. I wouldn't say it's a great driving game, because they have to make the mechanics work to where you can do both of those things. And in Ready Player One, everyone just kind of does everything. So there aren't really mechanics that you have to learn in the Oasis. It's basically just your real life skill into a video game, and no one could do the things you do in that game in real life. So I was just really bugged by that. And I get it, like, it's just a movie. It's just this crazy story. Don't pay a whole lot of attention to it. So I'm not really docking the movie points for that. That's just a big issue I had. So I don't think that's a problem everyone is going to have. And I get why they would just kind of want to brush over all that. Just simply be like, you know what? You load into the Oasis and you can do anything. Because you have a story you have to tell. You have 2 hours to tell it. So you just can't really bog the pace of it down by having like sequences of them being like, okay, this is now the driving part, so I got to like recalibrate all my stuff for driving and put on these add-ons to my suit for driving. Like, you just basically put the goggles on and you're in. I get it. I probably would do the same thing if I were telling this story. But it was a problem I had. Another problem I had is, again, the movie is nostalgia of the movie, and you have to kind of wonder at some point, like, what is the point? Why am I being thrown all these images that I recognize? I don't know. I I didn't really know what it was. You know, you're walking, or the characters are walking throughout the film, and suddenly you see something that's like, oh, there's a Batman thing, and then here's King Kong, and oh, here's Take On Me, a song. Like, what is the point, really? I mean, you could have this movie and not have all those things. I don't know. Someone explain it to me. I don't know. Oh, and another issue that I had was I didn't really get how the Oasis was supposed to work. There was a kind of mini montage early in the film where it was showing people playing this game, this Oasis game, and so like it'll show there'll be a shot in the game, and a character will hop up on a thing with the gun and start shooting stuff. And then it'll show what the person playing that character is doing in real life, and it's like this woman on a couch, you know, doing this. And you have to wonder, what if that couch wasn't there? Would that thing she was standing on in the game also not be there? How would the game know? There's just so many problems with that I wish they wouldn't have shown that. When it shows the main character played by Ty Sheridan, when it shows him load into the Oasis, it's just simply like him on this pad that can kind of, it's like a treadmill thing that can go in all directions. So he can like walk this way in the game, but in real life just be kind of like in one spot. That was enough for me. I didn't need to actually see people like jumping around, because that just implies that your real life setup affects what happens in the actual game, and in your real life setup isn't like connected with your Oasis goggles or anything like that. It's not connected with the suit you're wearing. They're just there. It's actual furniture. So if you were to move your furniture around in real life, would things actually alter in the game? What happens when you leave to another spot? Like if you go to a different level, if you will everything still be kind of set up the same way around you in the game because your furniture's still in the same spot in real life? And then it makes me wonder, how do they do the driving parts? Like in the scenes where they're racing, how are you sitting on things? Like, because that one little moment where it showed you someone jumping on a couch, that implies that like when you jump on things in real life, it affects what happens in the game. So in the game, when you are driving a car, you need to be sitting. In real life, I don't know. I'm just babbling. To me, that is something I'm docking the movie points for. I'm not with the whole mechanic thing that I mentioned before. I'm giving a movie a pass on that, but this one really bugs me. If someone can explain that would be great, because I didn't understand that at all. And I thought that was pretty bad. Now, I don't mean to get all worked up. I don't mean to bash on this movie too much. I don't hate this movie. I actually like this movie. I recommend this movie. It's a fun movie. It is, the movie's 2 hours long, so it's a little lengthy, but it's an energetic 2 hours. It's a fast 2 hours. I don't have much to say like in terms of characters or anything, but it's all serviceable. The bad guy is a good bad guy. The hero is a good hero. The love interest is a good love interest. All by the book sort of stuff. Nothing too exceptional, but it services the story. I mean, this movie just doesn't really care about story. I don't think it cares about character. It just wants to be kind of a fun thrill ride. And it is. It is a good time. I appreciated that one character is wearing a Rush shirt throughout the whole thing, which makes me realize I should have been wearing one of my Rush shirts for this video. It's too late now. I'm not changing. There's also a Rush poster in one scene. So, hell yeah. I want to give a big shout out to Mark Rylance, though. He's actually excellent in this movie. I've loved him. I've only seen him in a few movies. I've seen him in like maybe 4 movies. I've seen him in the movies he's done with Spielberg. He was great in all of them. I think he even won an Oscar for one of them. And he was in what's it called? He was in that movie, that Christopher Nolan movie. He was in Dunkirk, that's what it was. And he was great in that too. He is the best part of this whole movie. I loved all the scenes he was in. He was instantly sympathetic. Just his look, just kind of how like shut in he was, how just genuine he felt. Like he just had this love for video games. Like if the movie focused on him and focused kind of on his love for all these pop culture things, I feel like I could have been on board with a lot more of the pop culture references. Yeah, so he was fantastic. And I don't know, it's a well-made movie. And I mentioned in the beginning of this video how would I rank Spielberg movies and where would this one fall into it. Well, I remember when I saw The Post. I remember thinking The Post was among Spielberg's weaker movies. I also liked The Post, but not nearly as much as I tend to like Spielberg films. I was like, The Post is Spielberg's weakest movie of this decade. And yes, I am including BFG. I don't know if a lot of people were fans of that one, but I really liked BFG. The Post was far below that. I would put The Post towards the bottom, but Ready Player One, I think I would put even below that, because even The Post challenged me. Even The Post made me think, I guess. It had better characters, for sure. Ready Player One, I would put towards the bottom. I would say it's a better movie than Always. It's a better movie than 1941. But it's not a better movie than Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. It's not. I don't think that it is. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull had way better action set pieces. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull actually had, there was a lot of green screen and digital effects, but it actually had some real stunts and stuff. I like Kingdom of the Crystal Skull more than I like Ready Player One. But anyway, Ready Player One, you know what? See this movie. It's a good time. It really is. And I'm so glad Spielberg is dipped his toes again into the kind of all-out action genre. Because I know earlier this decade he said he was kind of done with action movies. And that made me sad, because he's arguably the best action director there's ever been. And so I'm glad to see that he's finding a little bit more interest in doing a movie like this. And maybe he'll do some more. I know he has a Indiana Jones film coming up that I'm not exactly hopeful for, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. But, he's making a lot of dramas, and he's doing really great at that. Bridge of Spies was excellent. Lincoln was excellent. So, I don't know, this is a solid entry into Spielberg's canon. Not my favorite, one of my least favorite, but, whatevs, so. But I don't know, if you agreed with me, leave a like. If you disagreed with me, leave a like. And comment on all the things that I got wrong, because I was a little puzzled by a lot of things in this movie, so shine some light on that for me, please. And subscribe. Don't forget to do that. And I'll see you next time.